Hey, it's Doug with Backcountry Pilgrim. Today I am looking at some organizational upgrades that I am doing with some really cool gear that Ben McMillan sent me from Hilltop Packs. I've been a huge Hilltop Packs fan for years. This is just one of many items that I have from them. I love the fact that you can get the personalized printing and that sort of thing. For these bags, however, I'm just going to be looking at the stock models and show you how I am doing some upgrades to better organize my gear when I'm on the trail. Now, for a while now, I've basically just been relying on a small dry bag from Hilltop Packs to use as a ditty bag. However, what I've noticed is that there are some things that I like to bring on overnight trips that I don't bring on day hikes. And I got thinking it would be nice if the pack system were a little bit more modular so that I could quickly grab the stuff I needed for a particular kind of hike instead of just carrying the same big bag of stuff around all the time or having to dig through it every time I get ready for a new trip. Further, Hilltop Packs has started using a new material that they're calling D50T, and it is a material that is just as strong as Dyneema or Ultra or EcoPack or some of these other challenge sailcloth type materials. However, it is a higher quality than many. It's got better laminate adhesion, and it's also a quieter material. And if that wasn't enough, it costs quite a bit less. Now you might be thinking, what's the catch? If all of this is true, then it must be heavier, right? Well, it is a little heavier than Dyneema, but not enough, in my opinion, to make a difference. So I'm very excited to try out the new bags and other gear that they are making out of this D50T material. But for now, let me just show you about some of the stuff that I got to try to upgrade my organizational system. All right, so getting into the previous ditty bag, one of my favorite pieces of gear from Hilltop Packs is the dual pocket battery bag. This is a dual compartment battery bag that allows you to keep the good batteries on the green side and the dead ones on the red. This may not seem like that big of a deal, but this has been so handy on trail. I'm very, very happy with this. However, I am exchanging it for a bigger one. This is also a dual compartment battery bag. It's just the large version. And what I like about this is that, well, it's bigger. Not only can I get a whole pile of GoPro batteries in here, but I can get something like this 3-battery charger, and I'm not having to stuff it full and crunch it into an awkward shape in order to get it to fit. I can also get a 10,000 milliamp battery charger in here. So this is a pretty solid battery pack. Super happy to be picking this up. What do we have next? Ah, yes, my old med kit bag. This was from Backcountry Exposure. It is a perfectly good pouch. This has been my med kit for quite a while. The reason I am trading up from this is not a quality issue at all. This thing's fine. I'm going to hang on to it. I just wanted something a little bit bigger, and because the material that Hilltop Packs is using is actually a little lighter weight than this, I can get a larger first aid kit bag with a cool little print on there for no weight penalty. It's just a little bit bigger, but it makes for a slimmer size and it's easier to pack. Plus, it looks pretty cool. Starting to rain, good thing all of these bags are waterproof. Next, we have the poop kit. Just in case you weren't sure, that's what it looks like. Definitely not going to lose this on the dirt. This is big enough to hold Hilltop Packs Apex Giant large size trowel, as well as hand sanitizer, some wipes, pellets, what have you. I mostly just got this because that's just a pretty funny thing to have on the pack. Similarly, I am changing from a Ziploc bag that I keep a toothbrush and other things like that in to something that is actually the hygiene bag here. Honestly, the colors are just fun. I do like the larger bags because they can lie flatter and it's easier to get all of this into a small little gear sandwich. And when I'm going out doing a day hike, I don't know that I'm going to need my hygiene products for just a day hike. So it's easier to just toss this than dig through my ditty bag and try to find all the little things that I'm not going to need for a day hike. Everything else can just stay as is. You can get these prints in different sizes. They don't just make one bag, but this is the difference between the mediums, and the large zippered pouches. Next, I'm doing a cook kit upgrade. So you've probably seen these. This is kind of your typical toques. All right, well, it is a good thing I had my battery pack here because I ran out of batteries. And so now I'm starting the recording over again. All right, so moving on, I talked about the toques pot holder. Hilltop has brought out a couple of these. This is the number 2, and this is the number 4. Now, I got these for my 750 milliliter Toaks pot and my 1100 milliliter pot. I would say both of these were a little off. I probably should have gone with maybe a 3. The 750 fits, and it's usable, but it is a little tight. Because the Toaks pot has handles and a little carry bar on there, it just barely fits. It's fine once it's in. So if you're just looking for something very lightweight that's going to hold everything, it'll do it. But I did find myself a little frustrated trying to get it in. I probably would just remove this like pail handle and then it wouldn't be so bad. But honestly, I think sizing up one would have been a good idea. Now, as far as the 1100, it fits perfectly in here. It's just that this is quite a bit taller. This is all kind of wasted space. So if there's something else you can put in there, great. But the pot itself comes in and out, no problem. This is a pretty large bag, but it weighs so little. I mean, look at this thing. It's practically floating away. If you're looking for something to replace the kind of spongier pot holder that Toaks gives you, then something like this might be just what you want. I don't know if the 3 is just shorter or if it's also wider, but this is the 2 and this is the 4. You can see there's a pretty big difference between them. So I'm thinking the 3 might have been better for at least the 750. Now inside here, I have this cute little stove sack. Believe it or not, this is actually a medium. This is obviously quite small, but what I like about this is that it is small enough not only for a stove, but also for a mini lighter. So if you've got your typical ultralight stove, this one is Apex Giants, another Hilltop Pack brand. This sack is very nice. It is ridiculously lightweight, obviously, but it's just nice. Once these get kind of grimy and get a lot of buildup on them, it's nice not to have all that rubbing inside your pot and getting on whatever else you might have in there. So I really like having this. Also keeps it a little more protected. It's not going to bang around as much because it's going to have that cushion. Now, granted, these little stove bags are not really much to begin with. But what I like about the Hilltop Packs bag is that for no weight penalty, you're actually getting a slightly larger sack that allows you to keep other things in it, such as a lighter. If you've got something bigger like the Soto Windmaster, you're going to want to upsize that stove bag. Now, finally, let's take a look at this new material. This is the large size D50 stuff sack. Now, the difference between this and this is that this and this other bag here are dry bags. These are a roll and clip waterproof bag. This is a cinch cord. And so you're not going to be able to make this 100% waterproof. Now, it is seam sealed. It is waterproof material. So if it just gets wet, that's not going to be a problem. However, if you're using these bags to go canoeing or you think you might take a swim with your backpack on, these will fill with water if the water gets to them. However, as far as a typical just water resistant cover, they're very nice. Another thing I like about using a stuff sack instead of a waterproof roll top is that it is stuffable. If you've ever used a roll top and tried to get it inside your backpack, you know that you can run into trouble once you actually get it in the pack because it won't compress anymore. It just fills up with air and it's like putting a big balloon in there. With a stuff sack, you can leach the air out and get it down quite a bit even after it is closed. So from like my puffy, quilts, sleeping bags, these large size stuff sacks are a good deal. Now you might be asking, okay, is there any downside to these? The one thing about the stuff sacks that I've noticed is that the drawstring has a little bit more trouble getting through the channels here than it would on like a larger nylon bag because you've got very small lightweight cordage it tends to bind up a little bit more when you are cinching it down. And so, well, actually that worked nearly perfectly. Let me see if I can get it to do the thing. Well, notice how it's bunching up here and not quite pulling this in evenly. Well, that pretty much worked here. Once they get worked in, it's not a big deal, but you might notice at first, especially with a larger opening sack, that when you pull it, it's going to bunch up near where it exits the channels and not pull much from the other side. All you got to do is kind of pinch it, slide the bag across, and then pull it again, and it'll shut. So sometimes it's more of a two motion move to get this to cinch down. They are super lightweight, and you can get them printed in really cool designs and colors. You can also have your own picture added to a bag. So this is one of their large size dual pocket gadget bags. I had them add the picture of me getting ready to climb Mount Talac on here. And just in case you haven't seen any of my other videos on this, these images are like baked into the material. I have literally dragged these bags across asphalt, rubbed them on scratchy stucco surfaces. They do not scratch, they don't tear. This image is going to stay on there. You would literally have to destroy the bag in order to destroy the image. So if you're going to spend a little extra on your system and you want something highly personalized, don't worry about it wearing off because these images stay put. So I am going to be trying out this system for a little while and seeing how I like it. My basic idea is just to have one bag big enough for all of these. And then as each trip approaches, I can simply get into the bag, decide which things are coming with me and which are not. And because they will be neatly organized inside the bag itself, I'm not going to have to sift through every single piece of gear to figure out what I'm actually bringing with me. I can just grab my gear already pre-packaged in its particular category. And if I know that I'm not going to need that kind of gear on a particular trip, I know that that's all that's in that bag. Everything's in that bag. I can just toss it into the pile and only take the things I will need on a particular trip. I hope this video has helped you out, given you some ideas for gear organization. If it has, would you mind giving the video a like? That helps the channel out a lot. And subscribe to Backcountry Pilgrim if you are into hiking, camping, backpacking, and the cool gear that goes with it. Until next time, I'm Doug. Thanks for watching.